they used to be junior, and now they all graduated. And
Be happy, but never satisfied.
Better than ever.
we are live in Châteauguay, just southwest of Montreal, where is being hosted the 2024 Canadian Ultimate Championship 4 on 4. My name is Etienne. I will have the great privilege of hosting this live web stream. And do not worry, I will not be alone. I will have the great privilege of sharing the mic with, yes, the legendary Rose Carlton. Rose, thank you for being with us today.
Looking forward to it as always. Thanks, Etienne.
So, how exciting will be the upcoming games? We have a team representing Northwest Territory Northern Conspiracy, who will be matching up against, guess what? Newfoundland-based team, Lil Joe. And you see the two opposite from when you say Canada from coast to coast to coast. Well, you know, the third coast are being represented here today. How exciting it is. We'll see a great competition. Lil Joe being a bunch of young players. They're averaging 19.6-year-old average, while we don't have the number for Northern Conspiracy. They didn't want to display it for some reason, which we can understand. So looking forward for an exciting game featuring Northwest Territory versus Newfoundland. Newfoundland. So we are in the pool play. That would be the last game of the pool play for this national championship.
It'll be interesting watching both of these teams, as there's Newfoundland is a bunch of players who are moving up through a juniors division, now coming into seniors. They've played together a lot. They have a lot of an organization behind them in terms of their development, versus this team from Northwest Territories, which is a bunch of people who have come together because they want to try a new sport. All of them coming from different sports backgrounds, not coming through juniors. They're learning it in their adult years. As you said, nobody wants to disclose their age on this team, but we can easily say that there's a difference between the two teams.
So we just heard the horn signaling the kickstart of this game. Lil Joe wearing the greenish jersey versus Northern Conspiracy wearing the dark jerseys. And we have first action, a break point by Lil Joe.
So earlier on, when we were talking with Northwest Territories, they said to us, "Oh, we talked to Ninjaks before the game. We wanted to know, do you have any tips or any tips about playing against them?" The reaction was, "They're tall, they're fast, they're young." Like, clearly observations, not so much tips, but observations. That was a perfect example of one of those observations of the speed with a run through D right away straight into the end zone and make the team pay.
So Northern with the disc. 17, Chris Gamble, turnover. Lil Joe, midfield, attacking the end zone. Zach Young with the disc. Oh, but it's blocked on the mark by Gamble. Now it's Sardi feeding Gamble for the first point of the Northern squad. We are tied at 1.
You could see in that option I forget who actually had the disc, but his teammate was calling for the dump, and he looked just a little too late for that. And the hand block became a much easier thing to do when you're forcing a disc between two players.
Lil Joe with the disc. Now it's Lil John wearing number 7, Joseph Kong, which everybody knows as Lil John. And he's the one scoring for Lil Joe, providing his team their second point of the game. 2-1 for the green jerseys.
So Little Joe scoring with Little Joe. Teammates call him Little Joe, despite the fact that apparently he's got some quite some impressive ups.
Absolutely. It's not because you're called little that you're not big.
Exactly. You can still play big.
We play big, obviously. Northern Conspiracy with the disc. Great pass to Price, but she's just cannot handle it. Quickly, Lil Joe countering, but it's a miscued. The intended receiver was number 5, Aaron Elliott. Rice feeding Tessier Burns. Price again, an experienced player initially based out of Ottawa. Now Stacey Burns. Great disc movement by the dark jerseys. Price attacking the end zone, and she catches it, providing Northern their second point. We have a tie at 2.
Justine Price is a longtime player out of Ottawa. She's well known for her throws, a solid handler, and as you mentioned, very experienced. So she's been brought in as a pickup for this team, obviously to add a little bit of depth and a little bit of experience.
Young finding Murphy along the sideline. Great mark by Sardi. Great backhand in the hole, finding Zach Young. Lil Joe taking a 1-point lead back early in the game.
That's some smart movement by Little Joe. We talked in an earlier stream about the use of the fake. That was a nice intentional use of the fake. Fake up line, like you're going to throw it there, turn right around, and a backhand into nice open space.
Great long pass to number 15, Jordan Mathieu, but it was cut out of bounds, just on the line, and the line in ultimate are considered out, unlike tennis, but very similar to American football. Sardi with the disc, feeding Price. Great catch by Ryland. Sardi, Price on the doorstep of the end zone. Great off the line cut, but tons of pressure by Mac Holder, leading to a turnover. Lil Joe with a break opportunity. They started the game by scoring a break point. Nice catch by Shannon Jones, but there was a call. I think it will go back to where it was put back into play. Some discussions around. For those who are less familiar with the sport, it is a self-officiated sport. No referees. All the players are accountable for refereeing themselves, calling fouls or calling picks. It's a great bid here.
Great bid and great getting out of the way from not landing on his head, I have to add.
Got to make sure you stay safe. Sardi, the left-hander. Still going hammer. Oh, nice effort by number 15, Jordan Mathieu, but it's very hard to read at this. That's over your head, especially when it comes down as a hammer. Great grab by number 42, Jones. Dishing it back. Nice little bladey flick to Lil Joe, scoring a break point for the green jerseys. It's 4-2 for the Newfoundland-based team.
For those watching the stream and expecting us to get the names right for Northwest Territories, there may be a couple of mistakes because their numbers keep falling off their jerseys.
Back into action. Lil Joe leading 4-2 in this first half. Boudreau with the disc, resetting. Boudreau once again looking to do a backhand, but very well marked by number 2, Jack Morris, putting a ton of pressure. Finally end up being able to reset, stuck along the sideline. But number 22 catches the disc, Frank Tessier Burns. Did he caught it in or out? Sideline says it looks like it was in. In those instances, it's always the best perspective who's moving. It's very hard when you are the player catching the disc to look at the disc and stare at your feet at the same time.
In fact, it's rarely the person catching the disc who has best perspective.
Well,
if you're looking at your feet, you're likely going to drop the disc. So it's a good time to turn to your teammates and ask who had best perspective.
Great defense bid by Connie Lee, wearing number 54. Wow. Another experienced player in the Northern Conspiracy squad. Great intention for Lil Joe, but just short of a great execution, leading to a turnover for Northern Conspiracy, attacking the open side. Mathieu with the disc, dishing it back. Now it's Sardi along the sideline, looking for an option. Licking it, finding Gamble. Still on the open side, not much room for maneuver. Going back, resetting, but nice reading, nice cutting. Lee and Sardi connecting for Northern, third point of the game.
That was actually a really nice point by Northwest Territories. I've noticed since the start of the game, one of the things that they need to work on a little bit is to use those swing passes, to trust their dump passes, and to step around their mark to get it off. And that was one of those points where they actually trusted each other and did it, and it worked.
Hammer very well caught by Guinea. And quickly securing the point. Little Joe striking once again. It's 5-3 for the green jerseys. So we mentioned already that arose in the previous live stream earlier today. How can 4-on-4 help you improve your game into a 7-on-7 outdoor with the wind? What is it? What is the coach in you thinking about?
The coach in me is thinking that oftentimes I'm trying to coach 4-on-4 out of kids when I'm coaching them because they're so. It's like little bees running around a disc often. You can see there's a tendency to be close. There's the quick movement and all of that. So instead of coaching it out, how do we make things useful? And in 4-on-4, you get the opportunity to try a lot of creative passes. You have to be very aware of what's happening. You throw, you go. You can't throw and watch. So there's some practice in terms of just basic, a lot of touching the disc. It's amazing practice for youth. Anyone, I'm saying youth because that's who I'm coaching right now, but for anyone, a lot of disc touch.
Number 5, Aaron Elliott, catching that beautiful pass in the end zone to provide Little Joe their 6th point. They're now leading by 2, 6-4. Still early in this first half. So we've seen both teams getting some rhythm in there. Like really, the execution, they're not holding the disc that much. We saw Kanien'kehá getting stuck along the sideline about less than a minute ago. But other than that, both teams have some kind of a rhythm into their offense. Great hand block by number 32, Morakust again, just denying that pass. Great anticipation.
If I were a coach in that instance, I'd be saying, step out. Throwing, standing straight, you're inviting a hand block.
Yeah.
So use your lunge, step out, step around your mark, make them have to reach for it. Don't make it an easy.
Especially when you're stuck along the sideline.
Exactly.
You have no room. You need to create yourself some room in order to do
make the mark move.
Yeah. In the meantime, we saw Cody Murphy scoring for Little Joe. It's now 7-4 for the Newfoundland-based team. Northern with the disc. Pick call. No arms done. A pick is something you're allowed to do in basketball, but it's not something you're allowed to do in Frisbee. Turnover. Lil Joe in the air, catches it. I think it was he was on the line, resetting quickly, attacking it, but it's her teammate wearing number 21, if I'm not mistaken, Heather Guinea, who is securing Lil Joe's 8th point of the game. Now 4-point lead for Newfoundland.
That was great concentration on Little Joe's catch right there. And I'm saying Little Joe because it actually was Joseph Hong against Rylet on Northern Conspiracy. It was great concentration because, to be perfectly honest, I thought it was going to be an easy D. And he was able to just focus.
Just attack the disc, focus, and said, this disc is mine.
Exactly.
Lee with the disc. There's a call.
Foul on the mark.
And the rule, when you are marking, you're not allowed to touch the person in front of you holding the disc.
I love when there's conversations the reenactments that happen. But I was doing this.
Yeah.
And obviously,
and some people are more talented than others in reenacting.
Yeah.
Some facial expressions sometimes occur that are very, very entertaining. Lee with a great flick to Mathieu. Unfortunately, cannot get a hold on it. Turnover for Lil Joe. Great pass and run by number 6, Peter Dormody. Now it's number 2, Moores with the disc, putting the disc in the air.
Two beautiful throws in a row, one from Fleming and then the next from Moores into the end zone. Both lovely throws, no hesitation, threw it throwing it on basically stall one or before. It's a lot of trust that their players are going where they want them to go.
Momentum is all about Little Joe right now. They have scored the last 4 points of this game. But hey, Northern responds with a great catch by Andrew Sardi, wearing actually no numbers, but we know he's number 77.
We do. However, there's somebody else. This gentleman here with the mustache that's quite impressive. I don't know what his name is. He also has no number.
Aha. I guess we'll have to gamble on his name.
Yes.
We'll see. Lil Joe with some poaching defense by Kanien'kehá, which somehow, some way resulted in a turnover for Northern Conspiracy. I wonder what the conspiracy is about. High release.
Nice
Finding
footwork.
number 6, Jessica Urtubise.
With some nice footwork to keep her feet in and in that grab in the end zone.
So Northern scoring their 6th point, trailing now by 3. Lil Joe stuck deep into their own end zone. Miscued, resulting in a turnover for the Yellow Knife Base Ultimate Club. Boudreau finding Price. Quick hammers release, reaching out to number 22, Tessier Burns, and now it's a 2-point game. Northern trailing 7-9.
Price is enjoying her hammers at the moment.
She loves her hammer.
She seems to.
Well, everybody loves their hammer.
Especially
as long
indoors.
as it's completed.
Pardon?
As long as you complete your pass.
Yeah.
Another turnover. Urtubise putting it into play. Fighting Sarti. Nice little flick to Gamble. Here we are. Now a 1-point game. Wow, what a response from Northern Conspiracy. They suffered from a 4-point from Little Joe. How do you respond to that? You score 4 points back. That's
Right.
how you do it, bros. If you ask me, that's what I would tell you.
Right now, they're capitalizing some of the errors.
Little Joe. Guess what? Just running away, just busting out of his defender.
I didn't see a
Finalized-
defender anywhere near him.
Well,
I think
he just gave up. He said, well, that young Little Joe is just, wow, he's just running too fast.
Well, sometimes it's also in 4-on-4. It's not so much that there's a give up, but you get stuck watching the disc. You turn around for 1 second to watch where the disc is. All of a sudden, your player's gone. And the field is small enough that you're too far behind to catch up.
It's all about your first foot, your first step, eh? First couple of steps. Price with the disc. Another hammer from the veteran. We love it. Boudreau now with the disc. Price hammers it once again, but this time it's denied by number 2, Jack Moores. Moores putting it back into play. Finding Fleming, backends it, but it's been partially blocked, denied on defense.
The choice of the throw was just perfect. It was just coming in just a little too hard. And when you're just slightly off kilter when you're catching a disc and it's coming in hard, it's a tough catch to make.
Great pass. Finding number 22, Frank Tessier Burns. And guess what? We have a 1-point game again. Lil Joe 10, Northern Conspiracy 9.
These two teams are actually quite well matched up, despite the fact that they play very differently.
It's very interesting, as you said, the style of play of those two teams. You see the young guns from Newfoundland playing against the more experienced maybe less athletic, but see the execution is there. Urtubise with a great cutting and a great pivot work from Sarti, tying this game to 10.
I'm not even sure if Northern Conspiracy is more experienced, but their style of play is much more. It's a slower style of play. It's a more like make a choice. Whereas with Little Joe, it's a lot about movement.
You're absolutely right. Lil Joe,
That was beautiful.
great low release from the number 7, finding his teammate wearing number 42, Shannon Jones. Lil Joe back 1 point ahead of Northern.
When Little Joe gets flow moving, they're really hard to stop. And I think when that's one of their strengths, especially against a team like Northern Conspiracy, that is a little slower and that is a little bit more thoughtful in their play. That flow is a bit of a killer.
And it's a Callahan! Callahan by Little Joe, intercepting a pass in the end zone. Number 18, A.B. Fleming, being the author of this Callahan. Wow, what a great timing. Well, is there bad timing for a Callahan? I
There's
don't
never
think so. But we are a few minutes shy of the end of this first half. Let's see how Northern respond to this Callahan. It's only 1 point, but it hurt. And a great response from the dark jersey. Great execution led by Connie Lee wearing number 54. And we are back at a 1 point game.
When Northern Conspiracy uses their dump swing movement and then a quick throw into the break side, it works extremely well. They have trouble when they get stuck on a sideline.
And it's a cross field hammer, but it was caught just on the line. Lil Joe resetting to Lil Joe, finding number 44, Mac Hodder. And Lil Joe taking now a 2 point lead, 13-11, towards the end of this first half. We're only a few seconds away from hearing the horn. Let's see how Urtubise what she will do. Are we attempting a long pass for the point, a quick point? Boudreau avec le disque. Now it's Lee. Great execution, even though there was a great bit on defense, but nonetheless, Northern just 1, 2, 3, 4 score.
You can see the experience with Lee. She has in that last sequence, she did a great cut out in. So she put her defender on a back foot coming in. She caught the disc and she had a very quick release to score. I talked about flow with Little Joe. That's the kind of flow that Northern Conspiracy can build on.
Nice pressure on defense by Northern, but Little Joe hangs in there. Young with the disc, flicking it along the sideline to Murphy. Murphy resets it. Young, great pivot, hangs in there. Feeding Witter to Young again. 4 yards away from the end zone. Young scoobers, but denied by Mathieu, just blocking it. Wow, what an intense point. Sardi going long, and it's been caught by Gamble, making this game once again a tie game at 13.
It's good gamble on Gamble.
What a game are we witnessing? Going long for the one pass. He's just unstoppable, and just a few seconds before the horn signaling the end of this first half. So Lil Joe having a short 1 point lead, 14-13, after 25 minutes of play. Wow. Rose, what can we say about this first half? Many things.
Well, I think my first thing is both teams started a bit shaky, and both teams have found a certain rhythm since this game has started. I think, as I've already said, I think Little Joe really relies on that sort of speed and flow of movement. They get into trouble when they try stuff a little too quickly sometimes. Maybe with some time, just take one breath, one beat before throwing. Sometimes it's exactly the right time to do it. But if it's any sort of uncertainty, breathe, do your fake, come around. On the other hand, I find with Northern Conspiracy, when they get stuck and hold the disc too long, it becomes really difficult for them. They are much more successful when they do that fake and the dump swing. For them, the dump swing score should be their bread and butter. Whereas for Little Joe, it's that flow, up line, cross field. What about you? What are you seeing?
Well, I just love the contrast of these two teams.
Oh, yeah.
One very, very athletic, running hard, go hard all the way, while the other one, they probably say, hey, we're not going to outrun those kids. We need to settle, be more composed. Let's be thoughtful with the disc. Let's be smart with the disc. And so far, it lands to a 1 point game. So very, very exciting game. And, you cannot think of a stronger picture of being like two teams, same country, about 6,000 kilometers away from one another. St. John, Newfoundland versus Yellowknife.
And a style.
Territory, and the style is so different.
Yeah.
So what a great game are we witnessing here today. And I'd like to take this moment to say a big hi to Michael Voto, wearing number 10 in Northern Conspiracy, who could not make it today. So your teammates are sending a big kudo to you. Hang in there. Northern Conspiracy kicking off the second half on defense. They are trailing by 1. Lil Joe, great backhand, but great anticipation by Tessier Burns. Counter strike by Northern. Always composed. Lee offering yourselves a target inside. Mathieu losing the disc. Lil Joe passing and running, going long. Oh, what a great catch! It was just out of bounds, but wow, how did he do that? Tell me, Rose, help me. How did he do that?
Youth.
Wow.
You and I would be
broken.
broken.
Direction, but you're legging out in the opposite direction. Did I just witness that?
Yes.
Amazing. 42, Shannon Jones. Now it's Hooter. Mac Hooter.
Hotter.
Wrecking it. Hotter. And who else than Little Joe in the end zone once again.
Yeah, it's true. I'm calling him Little Joe all the time, but Hong, he's remarkably quick, and he has an acceleration. He will throw and go, and his defense is still figuring out that he's made a throw. As you said, the athleticism of that catch is very impressive.
Big hammer across the field to Price. There was some bumping, but no arms. Is there a call? No call. So
Good
turnover
spirit
for Lil Joe. Moores with the disc. Midfield. Finding Elliott. Moores again. Dornardi. Now. Oh, great. Reading by number 17, Chris Gamble. With this pass that's looked a little short. Great. Laser right in the middle. Finding Price. Hammers it. But still. Price loves her hammer. There she goes. Looking break side. Taking it. Goes hammer. just a little out of reach of Sardi. Turnover, Lil Joe. This is probably one of the longest point of the game
It
so
is.
far. Both teams fighting very, very hard.
I've been impressed with Gamble on a couple of points in this game, with being able to read where the disc is going to go, read the play before it's happening. He's come in to make a couple of Ds just by jumping into the right space.
Great pass from Sardi, finding Gamble in the end zone. And we are back at a 1-point game.
These guys are keeping it tight.
Hanging in there.
They're keeping this game tight, and it's making it much more exciting for us.
It is. It is.
Probably a little stressful for them, but exciting for us.
Stress is their problem. I'm having fun here. Tight defense by the Northern squad. Great shutting down by Lee. Just hustling within on defense. Lil Joe resetting midfield. Nice little flick. Finding 32 Moria Cost again. For Lil Joe's 16th point. Back 2 points lead.
That was really nice patience on the thrower right there. You said that I couldn't see because of the bodies in front of me, but it was a nice patience, which I haven't seen as much of with Little Joe. But that was like just waiting for the right cut to show up.
Conspiracy with the disc. Boudreau. Great pivot. Finds his teammate. Tessier Burns. Midfield to Mathieu. Price. Is she going hammer? She fakes it. Holds it back. But no! She goes back to her favorite hammer throws, which result in a great point.
So,
still 1 point apart between those two teams.
If I were coaching Little Joe right now, I would consider moving to backhand force to stop that hammer and encouraging the person who's if you're going to stay a flick force, encouraging the person who's marking, get that hand up high. Try to stop that going over.
That would be a very good option. In the meantime, Lil Joe, great disc movement. Hammer, breaks high, converted. Number 6, Dornady, giving his team a 2-point lead.
Morris has been a pretty stable, consistent handler for this team at the moment. He is.
He's doing an amazing job. Just it feels like more like very composed, taking time to look around what's happening. What are his options? Conspiracy in their own goal line, deep in the corner.
That's Hildebrandt with the disc.
But miscue. Lee was the intended receiver, but great reading. Costigan putting it back and strike right away for Lil Joe's 18th point. Now leading by 3. You see how much of a 1-point difference. You know, if you're missing, you're getting broken instead of catching back. Instead of trailing by 1, you're trailing by 3 all of a second.
It's true.
Hildebrandt to Price. Now she flicks it. Oh, that was a great effort by Tessier Burns. But it was a tough pass to catch, even though there was a ton of pressure by guess who? Lil Joe himself. Green jersey is going break side with a nice hammer. Oh. Nice block by Tessier Burns. Well read by the conspiracy representative. Boudreau. Tessier Burns finding Price on the line. Resetting to Boudreau. Fakes it. Great pivot work. Tessier Burns on the left-hand side. Boudreau right in the middle. Looking to create some space in the end zone. Is she going hammer? Of course she does. But a little too far away. Tessier Burns was a great option, but it was just a little too too low as a hammer, a little too strong, a little too out of bounds.
Well, a little too out of bounds, but it was coming in hard. That's the kind of thing when you've got that much space. Ideally, that hammer should float, but it's hard to control. And he is exactly the right target for a hammer. Look at the height, and he's going to the disc every time.
So, Lil Joe, are we confirming it was a point? It's hard to say from our perspective, was that got in or on the line, but there's still some discussion around. It looks like Lil Joe claims they were in, but it's very hard, as we mentioned before.
Yeah.
When you're catching the disc, you have no idea where your feet are. So you're like in the worst position to call yourself in.
Absolutely.
You need need some help from the other people around. It's always the best perspective.
And ideally, that decision should be made by somebody on the field. But sometimes with an in or out call, it's perfectly acceptable to look at somebody. You seem to have the best perspective. Ask your teammate, ask somebody on the other team, or even ask a spectator who might have had might have been well positioned to be able to see it. It's usually we keep discussions like this in Ultimate on the field if whatever call there is, but perspective makes a big difference for these in or out calls.
And sometimes the right answer is we don't know.
Exactly. So which case, redo. It's a gift that we have in Ultimate. Is just okay. We don't know. I think it was in. You think it was out. Let's throw it back to the thrower, and we'll try again.
There you go. There's still some discussion.
Yeah.
I'm just a big fan of the reenactment.
I am too.
Like, oh wow.
Well, it gives us a chance.
Some people are just very, very creative, and the facial expression they put into their reenacting.
And it gives us a chance to figure out what are they actually talking about if we can read it. It's like charades for us.
There you go. There you go.
One of the things when I'm coaching too is the discussions can go on a long time with Ultimate. So we try to keep it within about 30 seconds. What's your perspective? What's my perspective? Let's come to a quick decision and move on.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I guess the decision, it was ruled that we don't know, so it just goes back. So great self-officiating by these two teams.
Nice catch. Again.
Lil Joe, great fake. Again. And that's one thing you mentioned about the fake when you have the disc. Like, make sure you are credible, or you can make believe that you just fake with a purpose.
Yeah.
Not faking for only faking, but make yourself believe like that your intention is to make the pass.
Yeah, same thing with a cut. It's like sometimes, like we often talk about the handlers about don't hesitate with your throw, play with intention and all of that. But the same thing with a cut. Do that cut like you mean it. And if you're not getting the disc, that's fine. Clear and leave that space for somebody else. Over
the last few minutes, it's been all about Lil Joe, who have scored the last 3 points and are now leading by 4. We haven't seen such a big gap between the two teams since the beginning of the game, and Lil Joe just scoring.
I think they might
20th points, where they are now leading by 5.
I don't know if you noticed how that disc got turned into a taco right there. This would be a good point where I would suggest changing it up. Watch how it throws.
That's a great observation. So sorry for misleading. It's 19-16 for Lil Joe. So 3-point gap between the two teams. Murphy with the disc, taking his time. Finding number 22, Witten. Hammers it on the break side. Great one-hand grab by Costigan. Lil Joe, 20th point, now leading by 4. That was a very gutsy catch by Moira Costigan right there. One-handed over the head hammer catch. We are in the 38th minute of this 50-minute long game. Great defense by number 7. Great counter. Just pass and run, and pass and run. I think that was the most beautiful point we've seen by Little Joe right now. There was zero hesitation. The quick throw, then a quick dish, across field, and somebody's right there up line.
That took them four throws. Simple. And I don't think Northern Conspiracy even knew the disc was in yet.
Between
I'm
the
sure they
time
did, but-
he made the D, by the time they scored, it was like
2 seconds.
4-5 seconds, and they made like 5 passes in the meantime. Amazing execution by the green jersey. But in the meantime, Northern looking to respond. Mathieu with the disc. But the flick is miscued, leading to a turnover for Lil Joe. Near their own goal line, Moores with the disc. Great pivot. Licks it. Great hammer fake. Having the mark move around.
Unfortunate.
Unfortunate drop by Moores, indeed. Northern Conspiracy now trailing by 5. Lee leading the charge, but Sardi, unfortunate drop.
An exchange of unfortunates.
Great fake. Joe, 3 yards away from the end zone, resetting, tried to create some space on the open side. Great poaching by Lee. Miscommunication in the green jerseys, leading to a turnover for Northern Conspiracy.
It was still a good look. I think the speed or the execution of that throw was I think it was just too fast. But it was a smart throw. It was a good look. It was a choice that I'd say do it again.
Lee going hammer style, but just out of reach of Mathieu. Another turnover in favor of the Newfoundland-based club.
Again, not angry at that choice.
Good decision. It's just about execution sometimes.
And sometimes on both ends. Execution in terms of throw, execution in terms of read, execution in terms of a catch. It can be a number of different aspects.
Moore just making the first pass and just busting long. And just catching the disc. Wow. What a run by number 2, Moore. The Newfoundland now leading by 6 points. That's the biggest lead of the game so far. Lil Joe now in the driver's seats, having one hand on the wheel, the second hand coming very, very nearby. But in the meantime, what a great vertical read by Owen Rylett.
And a smart choice by Hildebrandt there. He saw a height mismatch, and he was the right timing. No hesitation. It was
put it in the space.
Exactly.
If you have a height advantage like that, take advantage. You have to acknowledge it, which you did very well.
Yeah.
Maybe a little hand signal. Just go, and there you are. 5 points between those two teams. What a great game are they having? Lil Joe. Scoring for Lil Joe. How many times did I say Lil Joe?
I don't know, quite a few times.
Quite a few times. Eh?
That was a nice throw by Guiney up line. And the nice curve outside in.
Was that caught in?
I think that's still the question. I think Lee is questioning whether or not he caught it before his feet landed, or if he caught it and jumped out, or caught it as he was jumping out.
Would be hard to tell.
Yeah.
Hard to tell.
And we certainly don't have the perspective where you and I are standing right here.
So I guess.
Okay, so they're saying that he caught it in, but not in the end zone. Oh my God!
That was cut. With nice little push pass.
I wonder if the fact that Hong weighs about 20 pounds means he floats longer than anybody else.
I'd say 19.
19 pounds?
19 pounds.
Yeah.
It seems like
He's
when
got
he takes off,
he
just
springs,
doesn't
he just kind of
land.
floats up more and more.
It just stays up there.
Yeah. It's impressive to watch.
Northern Conspiracy trailing by 6. Price with the disc. See, we're trying to shut down her hammer with a great mark. Sarti
Good patience.
with the disc. With a big hammer. Well read by Gamble. Providing Northern their 18th point. Still trailing by 5.
It was a nice patience because the cuts were coming in a bit too close for them to be able to actually do anything with. So to wait it out and and then to look for some green space in that far space. And even if it wasn't caught, it's at least far away. But it was caught, so it was all better.
Less than 6 minutes in the game.
Murphy with the disc.
In the background of what you are seeing, there's the other pool play game. So whoever, and featuring 2 teams out of Quebec, and whoever wins that game will have the rest of the day off.
Yeah,
whoever lose that game, then will do a crossover game.
One of them has to play a crossover. I'm a little frustrated with both teams because they've decided to bring the scoreboard over on this side and turn it around, so we have no idea who's winning this game.
Well, there you go.
Before they did it, Ninjax was up, but I don't know what's happened since half.
Maybe that's what the Northern conspiracy is about. Us not knowing the score of the other game.
Exactly.
I think that's what it is. Great pass, but well intercepted by number 44.
Nice
Mac
patience.
Potter. Lil Joe.
Ooh.
Oh, sneaky. Low flick release, finding his teammate 44 Hooler in the end zone.
So we've seen a lot of Hong flying up in the air and catching things, crazy discs in the end zone, even laying out. But clearly he's got some skills with throwing too. And I think the other teams can't it's oftentimes you have to make a choice. Okay, this person's dangerous this way. I'm going to let him go long. Okay, let him go long. This person's dangerous in the end zone, so I'm going to force him in. You can't do that with this kid. I'm calling him a kid, but I don't mean that as an insult.
It's like pick your poison.
Exactly.
You want to be punished long or with his handling skills?
Yeah.
So, okay, well, he's going to play some defense. Okay, well, I'm going to block everything you put out there. So, wow.
Another thing I found that little Joe's doing well is often the person who's picking up the disc does one pass and then takes off long. It's often the person who started the play who's catching it in the end zone.
Absolutely. Connie Lee putting the disc back into play. Northern Conspiracy trailing by 6. Clock is ticking. Lee, great grab. Nice little floaty leading pass.
That was a nice throw from Hildebrandt there. And it was a nice throw from Hildebrandt, and it was a nice commitment to a cut by Lee.
You mentioned it very, very well. Commit to your cut.
Yeah.
Just go out there. Even though you have a defender, just commit. Go.
Yeah. Again, this is one of these things we talk about with the juniors. You have to commit to that cut and finish it. As soon as you start hesitating, for one, you're taking up space. You're useless. And for two, if you're making a committed cut, you're either creating space or you're getting the disc. And it's a team game. It's not an individual sport.
Miscued by Lil Joe Price, putting the disc back into play. Boudreau, Price. Nice reset to Boudreau. Hammer, but just into the defender's hand.
And Hammer
jerseys back with the disc.
Hotter with the hammer.
Hotter, and it's caught into the end zone. Lil Joe, 26. Northern Conspiracy, 20. We are now within the 90 seconds remaining to the game. Mathematically, I think it's impossible now to score 6 points within 90 seconds.
That would be pushing it, especially with a turn right on the end zone here.
Especially with a turn. Moores putting it into space. Oh, great effort. Wow.
And she bounces right back up, ready to put on the D.
Like if there was nothing. Like
Yeah.
if I'd lay out like that, I would
Yeah.
like, okay, just
Yes.
bury me here. I'm not moving.
Exactly.
I'm dead.
That was Abby Fleming who just did that.
Conspiracy. Looking long. Hammer long. To Gamble. Gamble, great fake, but great defense. And they are finding Hildebrand for the point. They're 21st. They're trailing by 5.
Seems to me that the Conspiracy is a hammer. Northern Conspiracy is throwing a lot of hammers. At first, we talked about Justine Price throwing hammers, but now we've seen, I don't know, 3 or 4 other players.
That's the thing with Conspiracy. It can be anything you want. Here's the Conspiracy signal. It's actually the end of the game. The horn. Output of this Newfoundland versus Northwest Territory confrontation. Lil Joe winning it by the score of 26-21. Rose, what a game!
It was really fun.
How different were the style of those two teams? How entertaining it was.
Yeah, and I think both of these teams came in after having both played Ninjaks and Sugar Mommies. Both teams had tough first games. Their both first games were really tough, and it could get really into your mindset about, oh, this isn't fun. We're not. Anyways, so I think both these teams came in looking forward to this matchup and looking forward to playing a game that's going to be competitive, intense, and that's exactly what we saw.
And they can both be proud of the output, even though the score is probably not what the Northern Conspiracy expected, but still, what an effort that they provided. I said 26-21. It actually finished 27-21, so 6-point lead, even though it was still very, very tight at the midway. So a great effort by those two teams. And how exciting was it to see a team based out of Newfoundland versus Northwest Territory? I don't recall ever seeing that in any national championship I've attended. And I've attended a couple, and so did you.
One or two.
One or two.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I've never seen a Northwest Territories team elsewhere. Newfoundland, we've seen a few teams come around, and it's going to be exciting watching the youth come out of Newfoundland. These guys show a huge amount of potential, especially if they keep playing together like this. The chemistry that they're building is insane.
And we have seen the senior team representing Newfoundland played earlier. Bad temper.
That's right. They're playing extremely well.
They are very, very good.
Yeah.
Amazing. So that concludes our day 1 of this national championship 4-on-4 here in Châteauguay. We have 4 more assignments which Devon and Rose will respond to tomorrow. So please follow up the Facebook of Ultimate Canada to see the exact timing. We don't know the team, of course, because we will see semifinals and final of the junior and senior division. So look forward into the Ultimate Canada social media for the exact schedule and the team. Rose, Carlton, it was an immense pleasure once again to share the mic with you. Thank you very much for being here. My name is Etienne Fournier. Thanks for sharing these 4 amazing games here today, and looking forward for more action 4-on-4 tomorrow. In the meantime, hey, go out and throw some frisbee. Take care.